we have a job, those of us who are in the business of spreading a message, as you are, to talk about sensible economics. And hopefully they'll come to their senses. I think the collapse will come. It's going to surprise everybody, because I was really surprised what happened to the Soviet system. I was in the service in the 60s and watched the Cold War very closely. And then all of a sudden, boom, it disappeared. So let's hope and pray for our system to change, as peaceful as that was.
Where were you when the Berlin Wall fell? What were you doing? Remember that day?
No, not as much. I would have been back in Congress at that time. That was 89, 90 is when the Berlin Wall went down. No, let's see. I got to get my dates in twice in the Congress. No, I was matter of fact back practicing medicine again, and I had my letter going, but I wasn't in Congress. But I remember that the other date that I remember very vividly is August 15th, 1971, and that is when the gold window was closed and wage and price was going on, the Bretton Woods system broke down. That is going to go down in history as probably one of the biggest monetary history days ever.
But you said you were surprised when the Soviet Union collapsed. I mean, what surprised you about that? It was a system that, according to your philosophy, was doomed to fail from the beginning.
That's right. That's right. I guess I should add to it that it broke down without a nuclear exchange or something, because the conditioning I had was it had to be violent. And what did the Soviets do over all those years? They suppressed any challenge at all, quite frequently with violence. They were a powerful dictatorship. So I assumed it would break down, just like I assumed that our system is not perpetually viable. We can't keep doing that, but I don't know exactly when it's going to happen. Nobody does, or exactly the consequences. But I also know that ideas are important, and understanding monetary policy and understanding why debt is bad, and trying to get people to understand and cherish and want to preserve liberty. And you can find most of your answers there in freedom of choice and voluntarism and private property. That's the message that has to be heard.
You brought up the fact that Americans are likely going to get poorer. It is kind of ironic, Dr. Paul, that whenever we do get poorer, the government tends to intervene more. But you're arguing that more intervention will just lead us to a cycle of becoming poorer. Is it not?
Oh, yeah, but all that money, the trillions of dollars that they passed out last year, a lot of those people, they were so far behind already. They caught up on their rents and things like this. So they're still poor, and more people are unemployed, since they were doing that. There was this up and down business, but the people are structurally unemployed, and the people aren't better off. And if you look at debt has exploded. And I think I've done a little booklet on bankruptcy, the financial part, but the moral bankruptcy too, I think is important because of the dependency people have, thinking that government and politicians can take care of themselves. And that's the purpose of the political promises, Republicans and Democrats. And they have to outpromise each other. We're going to take care of you. It's going to be okay. But it isn't that easy. There's still some rules and laws in nature and economics that prevail, and that is that the work ethic is pretty important. There has to be production, and there has to be free choices. And one thing is you can't get a healthy, thriving economy sorted out if you don't have the price of money and the interest rates. That's an important price, probably the most important price that we can talk about.
What do you think of the concept of universal basic income? Would that alleviate some of the poverty that we have in the nation?
For a day or two, after a couple of checks. No, it'll make it much worse. They virtually do that now. In the old days, the subject of the minimum wage would come up, and there shouldn't be any rules like that. They should be able to make, when they put a wage and price controls on in 1971, they restrained the working people from getting their wages. No, it should be the market that decides that. But the market, the minimum wage, a guaranteed wage, can't work because you have to productivity in order to know whether they can get more money. But we in the old days would say, all right, the minimum wage is $3 and we want it to go to $4. And some of us would say, why not $8? Why not $10? Why not $15? And we were thinking nobody would ever conceive of that. So what are we going to do? It's up to $15. But it doesn't work that way. By the time it gets to 15, it's still $2.50 in purchasing power or whatever. You have to deal with purchasing power, not these nominal numbers that the politicians are attracted to. And a lot of people say, oh, $15 would be wonderful. It's not the answer. You have to have sound money, and you have to have free markets, and you have to have rewards for what people do, and you have to a free market price of money and interest rate. Otherwise, you just build the bubbles bigger and bigger. And when the inevitable correction comes, it's going to be more violent than ever before. And I don't know. We're probably obviously getting closer every day, but as long as they can print money at the hour, I imagine we can limp along. But I don't think that we can reverse the big problem. The social problem is that the middle class and the poor are worse off, and the wealthy are getting much wealthier. There's no doubt about it. And that is just fodder for the socialists and the Marxists saying, look how horrible it is. And unfortunately, the people in charge don't argue the case, but that has nothing to do with the freedom. They argue the case, see, freedom doesn't work. And they use that to bash what we believe in. But that we don't have free markets. We have interventionism, and we have inflationism, and all these deficits and all this special interest going on. If we don't pin the blame on that, see, in the Depression, they were able to do it. They said, we had that terrible depression because we had the gold standard, and we were, not interfering enough. And they said it lasted too long because the government didn't print enough money fast enough. But what they did was they got rid of the free market because they said the free market and the gold standard was the cause of it all. Right now, they're still saying, well, they're not saying the free market. They're saying the market we have now is at fault. And it is. It's at fault. But we never better sort out the definitions, because if people accept what we have as an expression of freedom of choice, property rights, and freedom to contract, we're in big trouble. So it's a word game. It's understanding words. It's understanding economics. I think we're in better shape than we were in that area than we have ever before, because there's a lot of people like your program you have right now. You talk a lot about freedom and sound money. So that's pretty good.